This morning, I heard the people in Washington rambling again about great victories in the Middle East, a blatant deception from the delusional fools inside the Beltway. The mainstream media is trying to sell you a fairy tale that the assassination of Ayatollah Ali Khamenei in a U.S. Israeli airstrike will bring peace and collapse the regime. Absolute stupidity. Look at the battlefield reality. The truth is, they just elevated Mojtaba Khamenei, his son, to the supreme leadership. A 56-year-old man with deep and close ties to the Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps, the IRGC. The neocons think that if you cut off the head of the snake, the system dies. No, never. This appointment signals the Iranian government's desire for strategic continuity as they face expanding attacks from the United States and Israel. The Uniparty in Washington is celebrating, but they have engineered a far worse catastrophe. The children in the administration understand nothing of military history and mathematics, just like what we did in Iraq. Removing a leader only opens the door for chaos and harder-line forces to rise. And what is the cost? American blood. The Pentagon just admitted that a 7th U.S. service member has died after sustaining injuries in an Iranian strike on a military base in Saudi Arabia, where American troops were stationed. Why are our young men and women there? To protect the core interests of the American people? Ridiculous. They are there for the money, for the defense industry donors. It is a pointless meat grinder, and the lunatics in Washington are throwing lives into it without blinking an eye. It's finished. It's over. This game of interventionist hegemony is done, but they still refuse to admit the truth. Let's be frank, wars are never decided by empty speeches on television. They are decided by logistical materialism and ruthless geographic truth. Look at the map. Geography is destiny. Iran is not some undefended empty strip of land for you to bomb and then clap in celebration. They have complex mountainous terrain. They control the jugular of the global economy. Yet the fools in Washington act surprised when oil prices surged more than 10%, exceeding $100 a barrel for the first time in almost 4 years, right as markets opened Sunday evening. President Trump called this higher gas price just a little glitch and said he knew exactly what was going to happen with this detour. A little glitch, utterly delusional. For the American working class already buckling under inflation, it is a fatal catastrophe. The American economy is teetering on the edge of the abyss, massive national debt, a fragile financial system just like Europe, where Germany is being completely deindustrialized because of asinine energy policies. We think that bombing fuel depots outside Tehran, turning the sky an apocalyptic black, or attacking water desalination plants in Iran and Bahrain will make them drop to their knees and surrender. No, military history proves the exact opposite. Just like the brutal strategic bombing campaigns targeting civilians in the Second World War, bombs only unify the enemy. The Iranian military immediately vowed to appear more powerful, resolute, and will resist and stand firm until their last breath and drop of blood under the command of their new leader. And while the American military machine is busy destroying civilian infrastructure, taking the lives of at least 1,332 civilians, including scores of children in U.S. and Israeli attacks, according to Iran's UN ambassador, our own logistical system is stretched to the breaking point. We are running out of 150-millimeter artillery shells, lacking Patriot air defense systems scattered everywhere. The mathematics of war do not favor the West, and the arrogance of the globalists is leading us straight into an inescapable strategic trap. They brag loudly about a U.S. submarine sinking the Iranian warship Iris Dina in international waters, leaving over 100 crew members dead. They cheer when an airstrike hits a hotel in central Beirut, killing at least 4 people, bringing the death toll from the Israeli military operation in Lebanon to almost 400. They view that destruction as victory. But look at the big picture of the adversary's intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance, their ISR systems. Iran is not acting blindly or in panic. An IRGC spokesperson stated clearly that they are using 60% of their offensive capabilities to target U.S. assets in the Middle East because they consider Americans the main enemy prioritized for punishment. A slew of Gulf nations from Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, the UAE to Qatar all reported fresh aerial attacks and interceptions. In Kuwait, a wave of hostile drones directly targeted fuel storage at their international airport. The truth is, American strategic defense systems in the region are being completely overwhelmed by sheer numbers. Iran's proxy forces understand very well how to play this bloody game of attrition. just like in Ukraine, where the puppet Zelensky is feeding his forces into a meat grinder while a cautious Putin wears down NATO armies with 24/7 artillery production. Iran is doing the exact same thing on a regional scale. America's weapons manufacturing capacity simply cannot keep up with the actual rate of attrition. Our multi-million-dollar F-35 fighter jets and interceptor missiles are being used to shoot down cheap garbage drones. That is total bankruptcy in tactical mathematics. And the end result? The U.S. State Department had to hastily order American diplomats to leave Saudi Arabia. That is not the action of a victorious power. That is a retreat in panic. So why do we stay there? Why does this war machine continue to crush lives and consume billions of taxpayer dollars? Follow the money, and you will see the brutal truth about the deep state and the donors. This war serves absolutely no strategic purpose, method, or end state that benefits the United States. President Trump loudly proclaimed that Mojtaba Khamenei becoming the next supreme leader is an unacceptable choice to him, and that this man is not going to last long without the approval of the United States. Another bout of insane arrogance typical of the elites. Does Washington think they are gods with the right to appoint the leader of a sovereign nation halfway across the world? Impossible. There is no U.S. approval required here. Mojtaba was officially chosen by the Assembly of Experts, the group of 88 top clerics. He is now taking the helm as the commander-in-chief of Iran's entire armed forces. The neocons hoped military pressure would topple the regime, but Mojtaba's elevation sends an unmistakable message that Iran's hardline rulers wish to take the regime down a path of continuing Ali Khamenei's legacy, completely refusing to shift position under fire. Even with chants of death to Mojtaba from some opponents in the capital of Tehran, the reality of military power remains unchanged. The war profiteers in the military-industrial complex do not care about that truth. They just want to sell more missiles, more air defense radar systems. The deaths of innocent migrant workers like the Indian and Bangladeshi nationals killed in the Al-Kharj region of Saudi Arabia are just statistics to them. There are even reports of new video appearing to confirm a U.S. airstrike targeted a naval base right next to an Iranian elementary school where more than 160 students were killed. If this is the case, it is madness that completely undermines America's standing on the world stage. We are destroying ourselves for the benefit of a narrow interest group. It is time to look the bitter truth in the eye and end this limitless stupidity. It's finished. I repeat, the project to control the Middle East is over. The West is bleeding itself to death in peripheral conflicts that offer no core value. Israel is also tasting the consequences of a war of attrition, as their military confirmed 2 soldiers were killed in southern Lebanon, the first military deaths announced since the war began. Additionally, at least 14 other Israeli soldiers have been injured in the border fighting. This attrition, coupled with the fact that 4 hospitals in Lebanon have been damaged and several others are out of service because of military threats, paints a picture of total devastation with no end in sight. There was no sign of an off-ramp, only mounting fears that the fighting would broaden across the entire region. Just like the disintegrating NATO machine in Europe, a dead man walking sustained by debt, America's interventionist strategy in the Middle East is collapsing under the weight of its own absurdity. The only solution, the only end state that makes any military sense is an immediate withdrawal. Pull American troops out of exposed bases. Stop funding blind proxy wars. Focus our intelligence systems, logistics, and resources on defending America's own southern border, which is being invaded every single day. We cannot defeat geography. We cannot reshape an entire region according to Washington's delusions, and we will certainly never win a war of attrition against an adversary with an absolute advantage in domestic production capacity. If we do not wake up, America will collapse, not from the enemy's weapons, but from bankruptcy, massive debt, and the supreme stupidity of the ruling administration.